Welcome back to the Anxious Tradeswoman podcast, where I, your host, Louise, as a party, will share all the things that I've learned through the years, through the tears, so you don't have to. So I'm a heavy vehicle and plant mechanic by trade, and in episode 5, this episode, we are going to be talking about periods on site. So, even for the boys that listen, I think this is really good to know and understand for yourself. For the girls, some tips and tricks. And if you want to share this episode in your Instagram story or something and add some of your own personal period on site tips, you are more than welcome. I would love to revisit this topic with some more amazing tips and tricks later on in the scheme of the podcast. But we're up to episode 5. We'll be good. We are good. All right. Periods on site. So in episode 3, I talked a bit about my mental health and how my cycle actually really impacts my mental health. And not everyone has that experience. Thank God. But some people have it worse than me. I fully understand and recognize that, which is part of the reason why my business, Louise as a Party Training and Development Solutions, has partnered with Jnine. So Jnine is pretty much a period support company. They have all the little knickknacks that you need to be comfortable with your period on site. I've actually got a code, Louise10, for 10% off your first purchase. They do a subscription service as well, because I know I always forget. I'm like enjoying life and I'm like, oh my God, now this is happening again. So the subscription is really, really helpful. So with your period on site, we know we have a whole range of different symptoms that we can get. They can be physical and they can be mental. I don't think there's another category, but physical and mental symptoms. So we can hit the physical pain, but not just pain. We can get the fatigue, brain fog. Is brain fog mental or physical, or is it one in between? Anyway, brain fog, mood swings. Yeah, I think they're the overall ones that I can think of right now. But with the physical side of things, we need to be really careful, because as tradies, the amount of energy that we have is important, because if we don't have enough energy to physically do our job properly, then we may hurt ourselves. And the last thing we need to do is have our period and get injured at the same time. Not ideal. So things like making sure you eat regularly, especially like if you're on your period and you do have fatigue, and you don't want to be fatigued and hungry, like period fatigued and hungry. It's not a great mix. So when you do have your period, anytime anyway, but especially when you have your period, make sure you're fueling your body. And one way that I really like to do that on site is have easy snacks that you can eat throughout the day. Often we can get so busy that we forget about feeding ourselves, let's be honest. So making sure you're eating regularly, eating the things that fuel you. I'm not a dietitian. Everyone has different eating things, but you all know what makes you feel good and what makes you not feel good. So hang towards those things that make you feel good. All right. And then we have the energy side of things as well. So drinking water, making sure you're drinking a lot of water. If you have hydrolyte or some kind of electrolyte drink that can give you a little bit of an extra boost, do that, because I know the weeks that I'm on my period, I don't drink water, I drink hydrolyte, just because it helps fill that, not all the way, but it does help a lot in my energy level at that time of the month. And then you got your physical pain side of things. So a lot of people that I've spoken to don't really like to take the day off when they get their period if they're in extreme pain. But my opinion is that you should, because that extreme pain can distract you from your job and then cause an injury. But then also in saying that as well, if you are having pain to the extent where you can't do your day-to-day work, then you should be going to the doctor. There are a range of health conditions that can come up related to your cycle. And as women in male-dominated spaces, so often we are trying to pretend that our cycle doesn't affect us. Some of you guys don't have to pretend that if you have a really good cycle. I'm jealous. But if your cycle does affect your energy level, your mood, your ability to function because you're in pain, it's okay to take the day off. And it's okay to go and seek medical help and support with that. There are so many things that can be done to help support you in that time. And if there is a medical issue, usually that can get sorted out as well. If not sorted out, managed. So don't hold yourself back from getting medical help for your period. You're not being a wuss. Like, periods hurt. They hurt. Your uterus is literally shedding itself. It's okay if it hurts. All right, now, perfect segue to the shedding itself into the actual bleeding part of the period. All right. So I personally now use a cup. I find it so handy, and, you know, it fits in with my environmental ethics as well. I find it really comfortable, and that's just me. I know some girls have had mixed experiences with using cups. That's why we have so many different options. But I discovered cups after I got off the tools. And while I was still on the tools, while I was doing work, I was doing work, but doing field service and stuff like that, where there might not be a toilet around, or if you're in a hurry, or if something's running late and you don't have time to change your pad or your tampon. Like, I was in those situations a fair few times. Something that I used to do would be a tampon and a pad first thing in the morning. That way, if I was in a situation where I couldn't take, it's not super healthy, but if you can't take the tampon out because of, lack of space to do it or nowhere to wash your hands, then if your period does leak past your tampon, then you've got the pad there as well. And then as well, if you do have availability to take your tampon out, but you're still grubby, dirty, or that kind of thing, then you don't have to touch the pad. The pad's already there. That is what I used to do when I was on the tools, to have those two lines of defense. Also, having the conversation. I remember I had to have this conversation. I was working on this site, and I had to have a conversation with the boss. We just had a unisex toilet. There wasn't too many of us on site, so there wasn't even a need to have, there was 2 workshops. Actually, no, there was 3 workshops, and each workshop had 1 toilet, communal toilet. And it was fine. The workshop that I was working in, the toilet was clean. Some of them were not so clean. But anyway, I went and asked the boss to request to have a bin put in the bathroom because, I need somewhere to put the rubbish. And it is awkward, but you are 110% in your right to have that conversation if you do need a bin in the bathroom to dispose of your pads and tampons. Another thing that I personally haven't tried is the reusable pads, so like the bamboo kind of ones, and then also the period undies. Both are another option. I personally don't have any opinions or experience with them, but period undies, if I wasn't using the cup and the cup didn't exist, I probably would give them a good crack. But you deserve to be comfortable. Try different things. Even on different days of your cycle, if you have like a super heavy first day and then lighter second and third days, then maybe you might have to use pads and tampons on your first day so you can change it because it is heavy. But on your second, third and fourth day, you might be able to use a cup because it's not as heavy. But just trial and error to get yourself all sorted. And I know I'm probably when I'm telling you to trial and error, I get it. I've been getting my period since I was 11. So I'm 27 now. So that's 16 years of getting my period. And I know a lot of girls, you've been getting your period your whole life. You've probably got what works, but if it's not working for you, give some of the other things a go. You deserve to be comfortable. Remember to take your sick days. And if your period is affecting your day-to-day life, go and see a doctor. There's most likely something that can be done about it. And remember, if you want some little comfort things as well as your necessities, head over to Jnine. They have some amazing products there to make you comfortable and you can get a subscription. I feel like the subscription is so clever. When I saw the period subscription, I was like, yes, very, very clever. And like I said before, I've got a discount code for you, Louise10, for 10% off your first order. The link to get that is in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening to episode 5 of the Anxious Tradeswoman podcast. I'll see you next week.